When I read it, what I also loved about it was I felt I'd never actually seen anything like it before. So it has those similarities, but also it does take you into this world. It is gritty, it is real, but it has so much heart as well. So on the one hand, it's a very complex heist, which is fascinating to get involved with, but you also follow these characters and their families, and you see the kind of hardships that they go through and how living this kind of life plays on them, and also how human they really are. At the end of the day, they're still trying to have families, they're still trying to live this, to live a regular life in some ways. And it's so efficiently told, that part of the story, that it has a surprising amount of heart and emotion. And then a whole thing going through where you realize the world that you thought you were in is not necessarily the world that you are in. Twists and turns in a way that I've never seen a script like that, with so many surprises. Big Nick is a very, very powerful, driven alpha male in a world of alpha males. His regulators, he handpicked each one of them on the basis of their wildness, their brutality, and their smarts. But he lives in this world where you have to be willing to go to any length to get ahead, and that is the dangers inherent, that is the amount of hours you work, that is just that complete obsessiveness with the job at hand. And of course, you do that, and it's a kind of process of osmosis. Things rub off on you, and he's not living the best life. When he's stake out, he's drinking too much, he's probably participating in many other things, and it's kind of a disaster for his marriage. The more he devotes to that job, the less time he has for his wife, the less kind of an upstanding human being he's being. So he's really failing miserably at being a husband and a father, and that's where we come into his story at the beginning of the movie, where he's kind of been out partying and he comes home and she's had enough. And at first you just think, this guy's a punk. But as the movie goes on, you realize, the pressures that play on him. And in actual fact, he is a hard charger in his life, but he's a hard charger at everything he does. And when it comes to being a cop, there's nobody like him. He's the best, and he gets things done, and he brings down the toughest perpetrators to bring down. The outlaws are all ex-military, which is something that we start to piece together. A lot of these guys, they grew up together. They've been friends for 20, 30 years, and they serve together. So that they have this incredibly tight bond. You also know that they are this beautiful piece of working machinery that, and you put that together with their fearlessness. They served in Iraq, Afghanistan, and also that kind of code of conduct that they have. So they won't touch civilians, but they'll shoot uniforms. So you're more in danger if you're a cop taking them on. But at the same time, they don't really like what's going on. The second Big Nick comes on the scene in the regulators, they don't like that because they know these guys. And no criminal wants the regulators on top of them, because these guys, they operate in a different way, and they're going to break a lot of rules to bring you down. He's like a master. Like, he's been doing it his whole life. And in the little bits that he needed, help with, you help him. But he had no ego, such a great, so great to work with, and we've worked so well together. But he has also such an understanding of film history, filmmaking. So the way he puts scenes together, the way he puts shots together, and his understanding of pacing and everything, I've been very surprised and very happy. But also his manner on set and allowing you to experiment, to have fun, to go for it, and being incredibly encouraging and passionate and just sensitive to your needs. That's something you don't often get with a first-time director. And that's another thing that Christian brings, both as a writer and as a director, is he's a strong, masculine guy. He's all about his martial arts. Most of his buddies are some of the toughest guys you've ever met. But he's also incredibly soulful and one of the most sensitive individuals I've ever met. If I had two words to describe Merriman, is intelligent and ferocious. And yet a lot of that ferocity is just balled up, and it's hidden inside. I love his quietness and his study. And that's who Pablo is, and he brings a huge amount of dedication. Like, you see how hard he works. You see the size of him. It's hard to be big when you're like 6'4". I mean, I'm 6'2". It's hard enough for me to get big, but I know it's even harder for him to get big. And he's like a monster. And the training that he's put in, with the guns, and with Paul Maurice, our kind of technical advisor, he's worked so hard, and he looks so proficient, and he's just that kind of all-rounded badass that is Ray Merriman. So it's been, and a very, very, very talented actor, and just brings it brings it 1,000%, which is what we needed for that role. 50 Cent as a person he's more kind of bubbly and light. He's such a funny guy and a sweet guy. He's always smiling, you know. With Ensign, he takes the weight that he has and the gravitas, and he lets that shine, just pulls it all in and focuses. And when he speaks, it's crazy. Like in the read-through, barely raised his voice, but you didn't listen to anybody in the room more than you listened to him. And when he said something, it meant something, and that's who he is. He's just powerful, quiet, considered. So if he says he's going to back you up, he means it. And if he says he's not happy with you, he just has to say, not happy with you. And you go, okay, I get it. O'Shea, to me, is the find of this movie. I got to tell you, that kid is amazing. His mind is just extraordinary. It's been twisting and turning and twisting and turning. We think we're heading for a showdown. It's not what's happening. It's something completely different. We think they've got away, and suddenly, no, we're on them. And it's on. And we're behind them. We're stuck in traffic. They're pinned down. They can't get out. It's a shitty decision to have to make because we're in the middle of traffic. But otherwise, the same thing's going to happen as happened at the beginning of the movie. They're going to get away. And so we basically have to go and try and take them out. But earlier on that day, we were all aware that this was war. We were going to war. You know, we're all suiting up, and it's that two tribes go to war, and that moment has arrived. Again, like I say, in the worst possible way, because you have to see this to see there's hundreds of cars. We're in the middle of a traffic jam, and this is a route that has lorries, vans, trucks. It's just the worst place to be carrying this out. But and then it unfolds into what I think is going to be one of the most tremendous action scenes. And again, tremendous one, because we get big action scenes in movies now, but because this movie so specifically has these characters that you've grown and know and feel and love and hate, but understand, and again, become emotionally involved with, it has a whole different meaning. That's what takes it away from just an action movie, because you are living every moment with these characters, and because it is not, we made sure to stay away from stunty action, but to base it in reality. Who are the cops? How do we fire? How do we approach? What do they do?